Assalamu alaikum friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are fine. Friends, in this video we are exploring research methodology and its different techniques. If you have ever wondered how the researchers find out new things, then this video is for you. We will break down the steps they follow to learn about the world around us. But before starting the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon for latest videos. Let's start the topic. First of all, we will see what is research. Friends, research is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. It is like detective work, but for answering questions or finding out new things about the world. It involves asking questions, looking for clues, and using specific tools to find answers or solve problems. It is systematic because there is a definite set of procedures and steps which you will follow. There are certain things in the research process which are always done in order to get the most accurate results. Friends, research is organized in that there is a structure or method in going about doing research. It is a planned procedure, not a spontaneous one. It is focused and limited to a specific scope. For example, let's say you are curious about whether the plants grow better in sunlight or in the shade. You decide to do some research to find out. Firstly, you ask yourself the question, do plants grow better in sunlight or shade? Then you gather some plants and put some in a sunny spot and others in a shady spot. Over a few weeks, you observe how the plants are growing and measure their height, noting any differences. Finally, you analyze your findings and draw a conclusion based on the evidence you collected. Friends, that's the research in action. It's a finding answers is the end of all research, whether it is the answer to a hypothesis or even a simple question. Research is successful when we find answers. Sometimes the answer is no, but it is still an answer. Questions are central to research, and if there is no question, then the answer is of no use. The research is focused on relevant, useful, and important questions. Without a question, research has no focus, drive, or purpose. Friends, now there are different steps that are involved in conducting any research in English. The first one is identification of research problem. The second one is literature review. Third one is specifying the purpose of research. Fourth one is determine specific research question. And the fifth one is specification of a conceptual framework. Sixth is choice of a methodology. Seventh is data collection. Eighth is analyzing and interpreting the data. Ninth is reporting and evaluating research. And the last one is communicating the research findings and possibly the recommendations. Friends, now there is hypothesis. A hypothesis is a specific and testable prediction. It describes in concrete terms what you expect will happen in a certain circumstance. Friends, it is used in an experiment to define the relationship between two variables. And the purpose of a hypothesis is to find the answer of a question. Friends, it is an educated guess or the prediction about what you think will happen in a research study. It's like making a statement that you believe might be true based on some observations or knowledge. Friends, in research, hypotheses are tested through experiments or observations to see if they are supported by evidence or not. Friends, a formalized hypothesis will force us to think about what the results we should look for in an experiment. And the first variable is called independent variable, and this is the part of experiment that can be changed and tested. The independent variable happens first and can be considered the cause of any change in the outcome, and the outcome is called the dependent variable. For example, let's use the example of studying the effect of study time on exam scores. Let's formulate the hypothesis. Friends, increasing the amount of time spent studying will lead to higher exam scores. And here the independent variable is studying time because the researcher manipulates or changes. The researchers can control how much time participants spend studying. And the dependent variable is exam score because it depends on how much time participants spend studying. And this is the variable that the researcher measures to see if it changes as a result of the independent variable. So, if we conduct a study and find that students who study more indeed achieve higher exam scores, our hypothesis would be spotted. If not, we might need to reconsider our hypothesis or the way we conducted the study. A hypothesis should always explain what you expect to happen, be clear and understandable, be testable, be measurable, and contain an independent and dependent variable. Now there is data. What is data? Data can be defined as a collection of facts, figures, or any other related material which has the ability to serve as the information for the basic study and the analysis. It must be kept in mind that the data can be either old in nature or it may be the current one. Friends, it refers to the pieces of information or facts that are collected, organized, and analyzed for the purpose of gaining insights, making decisions, or answering questions. For getting answers to any of the queries that are made, data related to the questions or the queries is very much needed. Data acts as the backbone for the analysis, so it can be said that no questions can be answered without the data. Now there is data collection. Friends, data collection is something after the selection of a proper research design, a research problem is selected followed by a finalized plan of action. After all these steps comes the stage involving the collection of the data. This data is required during the various phases of study. The basic data has a direct effect on the answers to the various questions, and hence the source of the data is very much important as it provides the necessary information. The various sources of the data can be summarized as follows. The first one is primary sources. Friends, these types of sources refers to the first-hand sources are the original sources at the hands of a researcher, which is not collected in the past. Collection of the primary data can be done with the help of the principal sources of the observation and also the surveys. Primary data in very simple and the general language can be defined as the first-hand information relating to any type of the research that has been gathered or collected by the researcher or by any of his assistant or an agent. This type of the data helps in the original investigations and observations, which automatically further lead to the achievement of the various useful and meaningful results. Friends, now there are different methods of collection of the primary data. The first one is observation. In general terms, observation can be defined as the process involving the collection of the data by either viewing or listening or both. The best method in this category is to directly and personally observe something to get meaningful data, and this method is also called direct personal observation. In this type of observation, the situation is observed by the researcher in order to collect data relevant to the research. And if the observation is without any bias, the data that is collected with the help of this type of method acts as the most reliable information. Observation involves watching and noting what happens naturally without any intervention and manipulation by the researcher. Now there is questionnaire and the schedule. Friends, with the help of this type of method, data is collected by getting questionnaires completed by the various respondents. This method of questionnaire and the schedule is generally employed in order to collect the primary data in a very systematic manner. A questionnaire can be defined as a schedule having a number of coherent questions related to the topic which is being studied. A questionnaire acts as a formulated series of the questions and helps in the collection of the information directly by the investigator himself. A schedule can be defined as a collection of the details in a tabulated form and can be sometimes identical to the questionnaire. Next one is experimentation. Friends, forms are very commonly used and very popular ingredient of the research process being used in the physical sciences for a long time. An experiment is the process of studying the various aspects of the relationship between the independent and the dependent variables in a controlled situation. It acts as a test or trial method in order to test a hypothesis in a laboratory. Friends, it involves manipulating one or more variables to observe the effect on another variable while keeping all other factors constant. Next one is stimulation. Friends, stimulation can be defined as the technique used for performing the various sampling experiments on the model of the systems. According to Abelson, stimulation is the exercise of a flexible imitation of processes and outcomes for the purpose of clearing or explaining the underlying mechanism involved. Next one is interview method. Friends, this method acts as a very important and a critical way to collect data involving a very planned and a very systematic conversation that take place between the interviewer, investigator and the respondent. By this one is able to get a very suitable information related to a specific research problem. Now there is a direct method. Friends, the various direct methods are generally based on some assumptions. For example, the direct methods like the personal interview, telephone interview, etc. presuppose about a person that he is willing to provide some important information about his own behavior, beliefs and feelings. But this is not in the case in all the aspects. There may be some persons who may not give any type of information about themselves or may not give their opinion in a true sense. Friends, now there is a second method that we use to collect any data, and that is the secondary sources. Friends, data can be referred to be secondary in nature if the information provided by the data is not related to the purpose of the research and project work. Secondary data counts to the information for the various other purposes and not the purposes involved in the given research work. Secondary data is readily available and the researcher himself has no control over the shape of the data as it is given shape by the others. Friends, this type of the data is based on the second-hand information. For example, the data that has been collected, compiled and presented in the past by some other company or group and now is being used in the various investigation procedures. This type of the data is referred to as the secondary data. Types of research in English literature. Friends, there are basically two types of research which can be done to develop a thesis or dissertation in English. The first one is practical research. The practical research consists of the empirical study of the topic and the research and chiefly consists of hands-on approach. This involves first-hand research in the form of questionnaires, surveys, interviews, observations, and discussion groups. Friends, it is also known as applied research and it focuses on solving specific problems or addressing practical questions in real-world settings. It involves collaboration between the researchers and the practitioners to ensure that the findings are relevant and useful in real-life situations. And the next one is theoretical research. Friends, it is a non-empirical approach to research. This usually involves perusal of mostly published works like researching through the archives of public libraries, courtrooms, and published academic journals. It is known as the fundamental or basic research. It focuses on generating new theories, concepts, or the frameworks that contribute to our understanding of the underlying principles governing on a specific area of a study. Now, there are types of research methodology in English. Friends, methodology in the study of literature or the literary criticism would refer to the particular approach or theory used when reading or analyzing a literary text. Potential approaches can be very broadly categorized as textual, sociological, or psychological. In each case, the methodology simply boils down to the kinds of questions you ask as you are reading a text. The kinds of questions you ask will in turn direct to a particular theory, and within that theory, a particular method for your analysis. And there are two types of research methodologies which are used to develop a thesis or dissertation in English. The first one is qualitative research. Friends, this type of research methods involves describing in details specific situations using research tools like interviews, surveys, and observations. Qualitative research is primarily exploratory research. It is used to gain an understanding of underlying reasons, opinions, and motivations. It provides insights into the problem or helps to develop ideas or hypotheses for potential quantitative research. Friends, qualitative research is also used to uncover trends in thought and opinions and dive deeper into the problem. It involves collecting non-numerical data, such as interviews, observations, or textual analysis to uncover underlying meanings, patterns, or themes. It is often used in disciplines such as sociology, anthropology, education, and psychology. Qualitative data collection methods vary using unstructured or semi-structured techniques. Some common methods include focus groups, group discussion, individual interviews, and participation in observations. The sample size is typically small and the respondents are selected to fulfill a given quota. Now, types of analysis in qualitative research. The first one is textual analysis. Friends, in textual analysis, a researcher might be looking for or questioning the literal meaning of the text, studying its formal properties, asking how it achieves its unity of construction, or doing a close study of the figures of speech being used. These approaches might lead the researcher to the theories of new criticism or Russian formalism. Within formalism, researchers might look at literature as a type of language which is the historical basis of structuralism. Researchers might also be looking at the relationship among text, intertextuality, or transtextuality, common in post-structuralism. Next one is psychological analysis. Friends, in psychological analysis, a researcher might focus on the psychology of the author or the reader, called reader response theory, or on the characters as if they were people and therefore had a psychological makeup. Researchers' approach might be phenomenological and study how the text or a character creates a view of reality. The theories, Freud and the Jung and the psychoanalysis in general would supply the methods of this approach. Next one is sociological analysis. Friends, in sociological analysis, a researcher should study the text in relation to society, its effects and importance, or the society that is portrayed in the text, such as feminism, neo-Marxism, reception theory, or all sociological approaches, each dictating a different methodology. Next one is quantitative research. In this type of research, methods requires quantifiable data involving numerical and statistical explanations. Quantitative research is used to quantify the problems by way of generating numerical data or data that can be transformed into usable statistics. It is used to quantify attitudes, opinions, behaviors, and other defined variables and generalize results from a larger sample population. It focuses on collecting and analyzing numerical data to quantify the relationship patterns or trends and draw statistical inferences. It is commonly used in fields such as economics, medicine, psychology, and education for studying phenomena that can be measured and quantified. Quantitative research uses measurable data to formulate facts and uncover patterns in research. Quantitative data collection methods are much more structured than qualitative data collection methods. Quantitative data collection methods include various forms of surveys, online surveys, paper surveys, mobile surveys, and kiosk surveys, face-to-face interviews, telephone interviews, longitudinal studies, website interceptors, online polls, and systematic observations. So friends, in this video we have discussed different research methods and the materials that are used in conducting any research in English. Stay tuned for the next video. Stay blessed. Keep watching. Allah Hafiz.